questions, he always has an answer. It's Sean Hannity, this afternoon at 2, right before Joe Walsh at 5 on AM 560. The Answer.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. So this Chicago Magazine, NBC5 interview of Blagojevich is first from prison. You wonder what he's doing in prison. He's not teaching anymore, but he's keeping himself busy.
And I believe you were teaching classes, they said. Do you still teach?
No, I don't teach. I'm my jurisdiction. I used to be the governor of the fifth largest state. My jurisdiction now is 2 hallways that I sweep and mop. So no, but I try to do the best I can. I do believe in clean government, and I do believe in clean floors.
That was a cringeworthy
clean
moment
government
for me.
and clean floors. Blago 2030.
Well, he used to teach
back and better than ever.
He did teach history of the Civil War and history of World War II, and he does help inmates, prepares them for life outside prison walls where they can, do mock interviews.
Yeah,
he
I know. He's getting busy living. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by Jeff Coen, Chicago Tribune political reporter, as well as the author of the book on Blago, Golden, how Rob Blagojevich talked himself out of the governor's office and into prison. Jeff, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Good. So what was your impression or a takeaway or two from the Blagojevich interview?
Well, he's had a few years, I guess, to come up with that line you just played there.
Yeah, he has.
I thought, in general, I thought it was interesting. Everybody was kind of interested in the slice of life stuff behind bars, but I think as a reporter who's covered it for a long time, I think we, very quickly went to see if there was any sign of contrition in what he said, which we didn't really see anything. He's kind of still, standing by the idea that he didn't really do anything wrong here. And I think, for me, the other thing I was struck by was, I think, some real sadness, though, finally, which is something we don't really see with him. We don't think about, kind of that crack in the shell that he puts up forming. But I think there were some real moments in there where he was speaking honestly about separation from his daughters and the fact that, the reality of the number of years that he has to do there has really hit home. And, in sort of a rod way, he kind of describes that as similar to taking a punch in the Ali Frazier fight. He has to always go back to his sports metaphors and whatnot. But, in general, I think it was, it was interesting to see what he's been up to.
So he's maintaining his innocence. I understand that. But he was pointing out, he got a longer sentence than Al Capone. I mean, he's still upset about this crazy 14 years behind bars. And I agree with him. I think most of us agree that is just, it's too long. 14 years you don't think is too long? You want your tax dollars going to
No, I don't.
feed him
I don't
and
think it's too long.
clothe him in prison?
No, I don't.
Well, I think, and what he was referencing there, I believe, is Nick Calabrese in the Family Secrets case, because that's the same judge.
Mm-hmm.
It was Judge Zagel who sentenced them both. And Calabrese was on the stand talking about, killing a number of people, and he got a term slightly less than what Rod got. But, the opinions continue to rage out there, and as far as whether that was fair or not, he's had various appeals at this point, and he's done about everything he can do with the appeals court here, the federal appeals court. So his only pitch really is to go to the Supremes from here.
Yeah, I want to go back to something you said about him talking about his family and the disconnection from his family. They visit him less frequently. His daughters don't read his emails that he sends them. So kind of his lessening relevance in their lives, just as he has been eliminated from relevance in the lives of Illinois families generally. And it seems to me, though, from those statements he made to Phil Rogers, like the clean government and clean floors, there's not a lot of authenticity there. Invoking Kipling, the same poem he invoked on his way out is the poem he invokes today. Viktor Frankl, talking about comparing essentially himself to Viktor Frankl in an Auschwitz concentration camp. He's the victim, and his answers are all political and contrived. He says things about his family that you're supposed to say. I don't buy it.
Well, I mean, that's obviously a cynic's view, and I think a lot of reporters are in the same basket with you on some of that stuff. And he does often, dig deep into the same kind of pool of references. And you do roll your eyes a little bit when he compares himself to Nelson Mandela when he gets asked about his possible political future, even though he carries on to say, I'm not comparing myself to him, but then, proceeds to do just that. But it would be hard to imagine that he doesn't have some legitimate feelings about being separated from his girls. And I think when he has, when people have been sympathetic toward his situation, that's always the thing where you've got to imagine there's some genuine feelings there when you've got two girls growing up on the outside and he's cut off from it and in basically every way. And it's revealed by his wife, they don't even like to go because it's so heartbreaking for them still. And you're right. You mentioned he spends all his time writing a prayer, as he calls it, and says he mirrors it on a psalm, and they don't even read it. And there's got to be some actual soul-crushing moments in there for the guy.
Well, he's missed everything. I mean, their high school graduations, prom. If she gets married within the next 5 years, he's not going to be able to walk his daughter down the aisle. I mean, the list goes on and on. But
he missed,
do you think that they're coming?
third base line seats for the Cubs World Series,
I know,
which he would have had as governor because he was another one of these machine guys who gets everything on our dime.
Yeah,
so he missed that. We really missed him there.
So there's this. The family started a petition online to have President Trump pardon him or commute his sentence. Do you think that they're coming forward now? Because, they've had plenty of time to come forward in the past to tell his story because of the recent pardon of Joe Arpaio.
Yeah, the timing's interesting, and that's certainly, they are definitely, longtime political players. They typically don't do anything like this by accident. They're media people. All through the case, they're very calculating in what they put out when, and, so there's got to be something that they're looking to, and that could very well be it. I'm not going to try to, climb into the president's brain, that's for sure. But it's hard to know exactly what he's looking at. Is he trying to just keep the case out there at this point because now is the time to make a pitch to the Supreme Court and he wants to generate some kind of publicity and sympathy and whatnot? Or is he trying to catch the president's eye? I'm not sure. But he clearly has something in his mind why this is the time to do it versus, 2 years ago or 2 years from now.
I wonder if John Sally is still an important person in their lives.
Stop it.
I mean, so...
Patty opened up to him, and I'm a celebrity, get me out of here.
Exactly. And this is the point, and Jeff, you just raised it, which is where I wanted to go. The idea of how calculating they are, both of them, on reality TV shows while he's under indictment. Yeah, I know. They're trying to make money to pay legal bills. Boo-hoo. Meanwhile, Dick Mell, another... machine reptile, is entered in to finance things in Rod's absence after their falling out and all this stuff, this crime family falling out they had. The calculating nature of this, and it seems to me that a lot of people still, when you hear the maudlin responses from Rod Blagojevich, the fishhook goes right back in the mouths of Illinois voters, and they want to completely forget everything Rod Blagojevich did, including, oh, by the way, all of the items on the punch list for which he was impeached. It wasn't like it was just the quote-unquote sale of the Senate seat. There were a lot of other things Rod Blagojevich did that were impeachment-worthy, and they're all there for the public to see, but we're supposed to forget it. That's, it seems to me, what the Blagojevichs would like us to do.
Well, it's always been a tough sell, too, because as you well know, the backbone of the case was recordings of him, and so that the criminal case was really built on his own speech and his own talking about just this thing. So it's always been kind of a scattershot defense where he's wanted all of these tapes to be played so people can read into the context of tape number 36 instead of tape number 312, and it's very difficult to kind of climb your way out of that when you're talking about yourself.
And those tapes too. Here's the other thing. Why doesn't he tell us what's on those tapes that weren't played? He could. Why doesn't he tell us? What did he say? What did he say to Rahm Emanuel or whoever else he wants to quote unquote take down with him? His big tell-all book that was supposed to be such a blockbuster, a nothing burger, just like this interview. Why doesn't he give us chapter and verse? He could do it. He doesn't.
Well, you're right. There are different options for him, and I think he's still kind of trying to play by the rules and the parameters of the legal system while he still has outlets there. I don't know if the day will come where he'll ever, throw everything out himself, because obviously they would still have access to some of that material. But, I mean, what some of the nuance was, which was that, say, for example, the Jesse Jackson Jr. part, that was really a ploy because he was really trying to force the Madigan's hands on the other side. And it's things like that. And that's been part of his complaint about the judge in the case, is that he felt like he was hamstrung and wasn't allowed to play for the jury tapes that would have been, more for his view of what was really going on.
All right. He is Jeff Coen, Chicago Tribune political reporter, author of the book Golden, How Rod Blagojevich Talked Himself Out of the Governor's Office and Into Prison. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, have a good one, guys.
You too.
The topic is lighting up the phone lines.
Let's take a couple of